One of the most unique tracks in all of NASCAR. 3 corners, 3 straightaways, all different from the other. We're at the Tricky Triangle for the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series Tricky 150, presented by Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detailing from the virtual Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Speed Racing Network. Landon Lacey alongside myself, Emerson Arden, to bring you tonight's racing action from the virtual Pocono Raceway. And Landon, we're getting ready to tackle this beast of a racetrack on Sunday night, so I know we've both gotten a little track time here. But think back to the Xfinity car, loading up here at the Tricky Triangle in the 650 horse-powered machine. What goes to your mind ahead of an event like this?
I think a little bit about the car, and I think about, the handling characteristics of it. These cars don't have as much downforce as we have in the Cup Series, so these things are really, really tight, diving off into these corners. And then the rear end likes to raise up on exit, so you'll see them getting a little bit loose. So kind of an ill-handling race car. We'll have to see how these drivers can handle that tonight.
Absolutely. And heading into tonight's race, again, we look at it. It is 60 laps, 15 more than yesterday's race in the Truck Series, and no faster pairs. That's the important key detail that happens between Wednesday and Thursday night. These drivers in the Xfinity Series don't have faster pairs, so they can't be as aggressive. They can't be as risky with their cars, especially with these Xfinity cars, where any little bit of damage is automatically a disadvantage to your race.
Yeah, and we saw, in the truck race, they have their faster pairs, and we kind of saw a little bit of kind of a caution fest, if you want to call it that. But I think with these guys having no faster pairs tonight, I think we'll see a little bit more of guys being patient, not willing to take so many risks, and I think we'll see some long green flag runs here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The Truck Series, though, those trucks I think are going to be just more competitive because of the lower horsepower nature of them. It gets really difficult to drive those trucks around Pocono, and I think that's why those drivers struggled last night. But tonight here at Pocono, these Xfinity cars also no joke. Maybe even, I'd say probably the hardest of the 3 series when it comes to Pocono Raceway. But still, these drivers are going to have their hands full with these Xfinity cars. Those faster pairs will definitely be looming in the back of a lot of these drivers' minds as they rocket off into turn number 1.
Yeah, for sure. These guys are going to have, especially on older tires, you're looking at 2 to 2.5 seconds of fall off on a full green flag run. So might have an ill-handling race car to start off with, but it's going to be very, very ill-handling by the time you need to come down for pit road for 4 tires and fuel.
Absolutely. 4 freshies will be an absolute beautiful thing. So let's take a look at the series that, again, you all know and love every Thursday night, 20 weeks in the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series Season 2. Fixed setups, of course, no faster pairs, which we just touched based on. $10 entry fee per week. So every one of these drivers paid their $10 entry fee to enter into tonight's race, and they'll be competing for a race and season payouts, which we'll cover up in a little bit of time. Again, for that season payout, $500 for the champion. And of course, there is a team championship that has prize money on the line as well. The top team will get $200 there as well. But Lacey, look at these Xfinity details. I know you raced in the Xfinity Series to start the season. What of these details maybe sticks out to you that you prefer, maybe, as opposed to the Cup Series?
I look at that $500 to first place. You pay $10 a week, which is a couple rows up above that. So, and it's a 20-week season. So, you're paying out $200 for the season. But, if you get into the weekly payouts, like what we'll get into in a little bit, you could roll those weeks over. And some people, pay $10, $20, maybe $30 a season and just have it roll over. And then they end up winning the driver championship and come away with $500. And you can make some serious money just by having consistent finishes every week.
Absolutely. We love money talk here in the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series, and the money doesn't stop there as we get into tonight's race payouts. And again, like you said, you pay $10 to enter. If you win, you triple the money that you put in, so you get a profit of $20 if you win tonight's race. You get $20 for second, and you get your entry fee back. You place 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, like I said a minute ago, you can roll some of these races over and, to help pay for next week. And who knows, by the end of the season, you might come out, even if you don't win the season championship, you can come out with maybe, 100, 200, maybe even close to $300 after the season.
Absolutely. And you were mentioning about the season payouts, and boy, it is a lot, especially with the changes made in the offseason to where the top 8 in the season standings get paid out. There's a lot to race for. Even if you don't make that the championship 5 race at the end of the season, there's still a lot to race for, 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you're in a dead heat there heading into that last race, 6th, 7th, and 8th have some money to sort out themselves. But of course, the champion gets $500, second place $300, third place $180, and fourth place gets $120. But Lacey, what did the next 4 get?
Right, 5th gets $80, 6th gets $60, 7th gets $40, and 8th gets $20. And I like the way that SRN has set this up this season. You know, we always talk about car count at the end of seasons in leagues, and it's nice to see that SRN notices that and wants to keep drivers active at the end of the season. So they added a little more incentive to race for at the end of the season. Now adding a 6th through 8th payout when we get done in Atlanta later in the season.
Absolutely, I know it definitely has my eyes looking forward to the end of the season, even if things aren't going the right direction for me on the Cup side. But looking up next, maybe somebody that can help you get into that right direction is Kane Cook with Kane Cook Sim Racing. And of course, Kane Cook is a eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series driver who has his sim coaching sessions up for grabs today. You can book your session today at simracingnetwork.com. And Kane Cook himself, known as a hard charger in the eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series, and it really shows when you get some track time with Kane Cook, and he kind of shows you the ins and outs of this iRacing thing. You'll steadily see the improvement in your result.
Right, and Kane Cook, you look at that I rating at over 7,000, and he actually has 2 accounts at over 7,000. And just on iRacing, that's a hard feat to do. But you look at Greg Olenek, who's our points leader, and then you also look at our other broadcaster on Wednesday and Sunday nights of Brandon Domain. They've been doing a lot of work with Kane Cook, and it's shown in their results. And we're only here in the Xfinity series, we're only racing for $500 for the season. Kane Cook's racing for $300,000. So this man knows what he's doing.
Absolutely, and again, a huge talent to learn from. I might even start looking into these Kane Cook sim coaching sessions if I can't get things right for me on the Cup side. But we move on, of course, and here at the Speed Racing Network, we have, of course, the charity event for Sadie, the Battle of the Teams race, a 100-lap event at Talladega next Saturday night on another event, September 11th. Again, it'll be at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Landon, I'm not too sure if you're into this event just yet, but I know you were in Discord. I'm really looking forward to this event.
Yeah, I'm planning on racing it. I need to get a couple teammates, but I mean, hey, even if I don't find teammates, I think I'm going to race in it anyways, just for support and not care about being on a team. Just do it just for Sadie. But a great cause put on together by Rev Racing and R&D Motorsports, and our sponsor for tonight, Sparkle and Shine, help putting this on as well as all the other sponsors that you see on your screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Revved up for the cause, doing great work obviously for the benefit of Sadie, and of course there's prizes all throughout if you're to win the race and for the top 3 teams, and there's even viewer prizes. So make sure you tune in next Saturday night, even if you're not racing, to maybe have your fair shot at winning some prizes. And of course, the main purpose here is, of course, we're doing this as to benefit Sadie, and there'll be a QR code later in the broadcast where you'll have the opportunity to scan it yourself and donate if you so wish. But coming up next, of course, here with our Speed Racing Network Virtual Extended Series broadcast is the Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week, presented by none other than Sean Griffith.
We've already had 2 pumpkin spice beverage reviews in the past 3 weeks, so we thought that we were done with that flavor. But just when you thought you've seen pumpkin spice everything as fall rolls around, just wait. Bud Light has come out with their pumpkin spice hard seltzer, and it hits the shelves on September the 6th. This hard seltzer mimics Starbucks' infamous pumpkin spice latte, featuring flavors of pumpkin, cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. Now, if that's not enough for you, Bud Light is also coming out with toasted marshmallow, maple pear, and apple crisp flavors just in time for the fall season. And it wouldn't be complete without putting those beverages into flannel pattern cans. It sounds like Bud Light wanted to jump in on the pumpkin spice market before it went away for another year, so drop by your local supermarket beginning September 6th and check out all of these fall flavors. The Beer of the Week is sponsored by Beer Street Journal, the leading online publication for craft beverage reviews. Go to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
And of course, thank you, Sean Griffith, and for presenting this Bud Light Seltzer to us. And again, the multitude of flavors coming out September 6th. And of course, you can find more amazing beers at Beer Street Journal. And Beer Street Journal, please drink responsibly. Lacey, again, a lot of flavors with Bud Light Seltzer coming out in the coming days. What are you looking forward to?
I remember Brandon Domain last night talking about he didn't like pumpkin or pear, so he would probably go with the apple or the marshmallow. But for me, I'm more of a pear guy, so I mean, I'd be more than happy to try out the maple pear. And it's nice to have a beer of the week this week that is more known nationwide instead of locally. So anybody who's watching tonight, this would be a great product for you to pick up at your local gas station, grocery store, or anywhere you can find it.
Absolutely, lots of appeal. And once again, make sure you check out beerstreetjournal.com to see all the amazing beer reviews. So now we're going to take a look at the point standings coming into tonight's race. And of course, we have inside the cut line first and foremost. And Greg Olenek has now stormed out to a huge point lead, now looking at 21 points over Devin Zimmerman. Jordan Bain there in third, 3 points back of Zim. Vincent Cortez being the second tank driver in the top 5. And Seth Reed rounding out the top 5 there for Highline Racing.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these guys on this list, especially Greg Olenek. I think Devin Zimmerman had a good recovery at Richmond last week, but Greg Olenek sadly got caught up in a incident last week at Richmond that kind of pulled his points lead down just a little bit. But some of these guys farther down the list, I look at like Tyler Markle, who just is consistently finishing top 15s, which will keep you in this top 15 once we get to the playoffs.
Absolutely, and a lot of competition on that cut line. Stan Houseman holds that cut line inside right now, but we'll look at the drivers who are currently outside of the cut line, trying to make their way into that top 15. You see Joshua Marcy right there outside the cut line. Our own Brandon Domingue there in 18th, trying to make it in. A lot of good drivers down here. I think of biasly, maybe my teammate Mike Lepicki, who's not having the best seasons right now in 25th, trying to make his way inside that top 15.
Yeah, and you look at a driver like Jack Hedgecox there in 23rd, finished top 3 at Richmond last week. And, if he puts on a couple more of those showings, then, hey, we might see him up in the top 15 here before the playoffs roll around.
Absolutely. And again, you see a lot of team affiliations and a lot of teams trying to piece together some great championship runs on the team championship side. Let's go ahead and take a look at those team standings. That, of course, Revs Racing at the top of the standings, 658 points at their name. Tank Racing coming in second, 585 points, and R&D will round out the podium team, so 511, but 2 wins to their name this season.
Yeah, and you look at some of the other teams like Jonathan Byer Racing, those guys are up front every week and have a good potential to move up the leaderboard. And we have our new team of JW Racing down there in 9th, who just started last week at Richmond, but ran very, very strong at Richmond. They got 94 points last week, which is a pretty good amount of points just for one race. So look forward to them, trying to make their way up to 8th before the playoffs so they can get in the bracket.
Absolutely. That 8th place in the team championship points could become a very hot seat to see who will be competing for a team championship. All you got to do is make that top 8, and you'll have a chance with the way the bracket is set up. But let's go ahead and meet some of the teams and the drivers on these teams before heading into tonight's race. We'll take a look, of course, at the team that is leading the team standings, and that, of course, is Revs Racing. And look at the drivers like Greg Olenek, who has a win this season, but the team headed by Aaron Gerwitz in the 09, Ted Rekich there in the 10, Jordan Bain, who was pretty fast in practice today, in the 28, and Anna Pettit in the 58 as well.
Yeah, this team is starting to become very, very dangerous. You look at the 3 right there in the middle of Ted Rekich, Jordan Bain, and Greg Olenek, probably 3 of the most consistent drivers in this series. Greg Olenek with a little bit of hiccup last week, but nothing of his own doing. And Jordan Bain has just shown up this season and just shown out. So really looking forward to these guys probably having another 3 finish top 5, top 10.
Coming up next here on the team standings is Tank Racing, and might be a little biased here, but there's a lot of talent on this team, and a lot of that talent trying to be focused on getting a lot of drivers into the playoffs. Last season we had 4 drivers in the playoffs, and this season trying to do the same. But Derek De Silva in the 5 car, heading this team with Devin Zimmerman in 33, Mike Lepicki in the 46, Vincent Cortez in the 69, and Adrian Schumacher in the 82.
Yeah, another team that just is somewhat stacked. I mean, you look at Devin Zimmerman, who is consistently finishing top 10s. Vincent Cortez looking fast tonight, and Adrian Schumacher, after that win in the Cup Series at the Roval, he has just been putting finishes back to back every week.
Coming up next here in the team standings, we saw it was R&D Motorsports. They're the 3rd team in the standings, and of course R&D Motorsports has the drivers of I believe the 8 of Dylan Patterson, who has 2 wins to his name. I'm sorry, 1 win, and 00 of Ryan Phillips, picking up the 2nd win for R&D Motorsports. Both Tiffany in the 13, Corey Saucier in the 19, and Shane Houseman in the 39. Right out these 5 drivers.
Yeah, and the one guy I look at on this team is Corey Saucier. You know, he was in the Truck Series last season, moved up to Xfinity for this season. And like I said last week, kind of going through growing pains, but had another good finish at Richmond last week, and possibly, get another good finish tonight here at Pocono and continue moving up the point standings.
A team I've been looking forward to and trying to see how they've been able to piece together some runs here in the midseason. Here is Striker Motorsports, and that team of drivers, that group of drivers, fast as lightning, you see it on your screen, trying to get themselves higher up in that team seating. Jose Castellanos in the 4 car, Brandon Doming in the 20, Tyler Markle in the 42, Jack Hedgecox in the 43, starting to piece together some nice runs.
Right, and these guys are again have a potential to finish very well. We saw Jack Hedgecox was a top 3 last week at Richmond. Tyler Markle's been finishing, like I said, in the top 15, and Brandon Domain's been running good. He's just had some hard luck. If he could turn that around, I believe he also could fire off top 15, top 10 finishes.
Coming up next, we have Revved Reloaded, and then there's only 3 drivers on this team, but they're sat 5th in the team standings. We have the 2 of Zach Deuscher, the 21 of Danny Dow, the 98 of Nathan Nixon. A lot of talent here.
And running with Revved Racing in the Xfinity before moving up to Cup, I also ran with the Rev Reloaded guys in our practice sessions that they held every week, and these are 3 talented drivers. Zach Deuscher has some bad luck. Danny Dow has been running very well lately, and so has Nathan Nixon. These guys, sadly only having 3, they all 3 have to run very well to help them out in team points.
And they're not doing too bad at it. They're in the 5th position. But coming up next in the team standings, we have Jonathan Byer Racing and JBR. They've been lining up in the Truck Series. This Xfinity team trying to piece together those finishes as well, with the 18 of Austin Moore, the 35 of Joshua Marcy, the 61 of Josh Witt, the 63 of Brian Huntley Jr., and the 66 of Nathan De La Rosa. JBR there in 6th, looking for some momentum here tonight at Pocono.
And I mean, why not? Can we say that they have momentum? I mean, you watch your teammates win in the Truck Series, and that kind of gives you some motivation to go out on track and perform yourself and try to go out there and, hey, the Truck Series guys can do it. Why can't we?
Absolutely. And coming up next here in the team standings is High Line Racing. And again, also only 3 drivers for this team, but go high and pass fast is their motto. We have the 12 of Wayne Rayborn, the 23 of Daniel Keefe Jr., the 81 of Seth Reed, who's really been turning heads right now, top of the charts in qualifying. There's a lot of, anticipation for this team to do well.
Yeah, and like we said with Seth Reed, he was on top of the board right now in qualifying. He was fast in practice, and then his other 2 teammates, they run consistently well every week too. So just going outside the box a little bit, anybody in this field has a potential to win these races, and it can come from Highline or it can come from any team that's running tonight.
The 8th team in the team standings is that of Smith Road Racing. Again, they're trying to get themselves up there. They're trying to hold on to that 8th spot, more importantly, to make sure they're in the cut when the bracket starts at the time of the playoffs. And this team headed by Dustin Scruggs in the 11, Christopher Darling in the 38, and the 88 of Tristan Bailey.
And, Tristan Bailey had a little bit of hard luck last week at Richmond after coming off his win from Nashville. But I'm pretty sure he's looking forward to turning that around here tonight at Pocono.
And our final team introductions is our new team. Last week, JW Racing, they're behind, but they have the talent to catch up. And like you said, Lacey, 94 points in 1 week, not too shabby. Can't forget to that 8th team with this lineup of drivers like Justin Rideout, Matthew Robinson, Michael Larch, James Shanewolf, and Drew Ballesterios in the 54.
Yeah, these guys, they came out last week and showed that they had some speed. And they showed in practice before qualifying here that they had speed here tonight as well. So for Smith Road Racing, they better watch out because these guys, and these guys have 5 drivers as well, which kind of hurts SRR. But they better watch out because these guys could pounce and take away that 8th spot in points.
We'll see if the numbers can do it there in that battle for the 8th position. Some of the independents tonight, Kyle Johnson. How about last week's winner, Rhett Tucker, Blair Holloman, a Truck Series driver, Zach Taylor in the 14, Travis Trevelyan in the 71, and the 75 of James Kerr, the independents in tonight's race. Take a look at the starting lineup for the Tricky 150 presented by Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detailing. And it was Seth Reed able to hold on to the top spot in qualifying. He'll be on the pole position to his outside. Will be the driver, I think, is showing he's not too shabby on the road courses. And you think of Pocono potentially like a road course. Adrian Schumacher there in second.
Yeah, then you have Vincent Cortez in third for one of your teammates for Tank Racing as well. Adrian Schumacher being one of your teammates for Tank Racing as well. Then you have James Shanewolf for JW Racing starting fourth. Tristan Bailey for Smith Road Racing starting fifth, and Corey Saucier for R&D Motorsports starting sixth.
Drew Ballesteros in 7th, and Devin Zimmerman makes up the 8th position there. Back to row number 5, it'll be Greg Olenek in the 31, Jordan Bain in the 28, and rounding out the top 12 drivers, Dylan Patterson for R&D there in 11th, and Joshua Marcy for Jonathan Meyer there in 12th. So, Lacey, we get ready to go out here tonight. You were talking a lot about the practice times maybe being a direction you want to lean towards and a driver you're picking for this race. So you've had a lot of time to research the entire 80-minute practice, the 10-minute quali. Have you made your decision who you're picking to win this race?
I have, and I kind of changed up my mind on who I was going to pick, and I'm actually going to go with one of your teammates. I went with the driver starting P3 last night, Michael Madden, and ended up winning the race. I'm going to go again with the driver starting P3 of Vincent Cortez. Another consistent driver, finishing top 5s, top 10s every week, and was really fast in practice. And then you were also telling me about some lap times he ran earlier. So, I think Vincent Cortez will end up in victory lane tonight.
Beautiful red, white, and blue scheme on that number 69. It'd be easy for me to say my other Tank teammate up there, the 82 of Adrian Schumacher, but I'm going to go with Seth Reed in the 81. He's had a lot of pace recently, and right now starting on pole. Could this be the breakthrough week for the 81 of Seth Reed? We'll have to see as the field of, we're looking at 37 Xfinity Series cars working their way through the long turn number 3, modeled after the Milwaukee Mile Corner. Behind VIRacing.com safety vehicle, it's Seth Reed and Adrian Schumacher, 81 and 82 on the front row. VIRacing.com safety vehicle will make that left-hand turn into the safety of pit lane, and Seth Reed is off and away. We're racing at Pocono.
Yeah, and these guys, Seth Reed with a great start. For Adrian Schumacher, you kind of want to be on his rear bumper going into 1 to have a little bit of a challenge. But it's only lap 1. Let's kind of get in. Let's not have what we had last night in the Truck Series and try to get single filed out here, take it easy, and have some long green flag runs tonight.
Seth Reed gained out to a nice little margin, nearly 0.4 of a second to his name. It's Adrian Schumacher and Vincent Cortez going at it for second. And how about the 53 of James Shanewolf powering his way onto the final podium spot for now through the tricky tunnel turn off of turn number 2. Shanewolf gets the run off the corner.
Yeah, and you don't really expect the high line here to be a preferred line, because when you run your fast lap, you're mostly on the bottom. But especially right here in turn 3, you'll see Shanewolf have a huge run down the front straightaway because you can carry so much. Even though there's not much banking in turn 3, you can carry so much speed down that front straightaway by running that higher line.
Wreck in the back, big wreck. Several cars involved. Trying to get an idea on who that is. That's Stan Houseman in the 39, and at the back of the pack, it gets so tightened up there, and all that dirty air off of turn 3. It's so flat. You're just trying to get the best run you can out of the corner. It looks like you've already had some retirees from tonight's race.
And this rec replay is brought to you by Beer Street Journal, and they always remind you to please drink responsibly.
Absolutely. Please do drink responsibly. And we're going to get a look at the replay here. This is Stan Houseman working his way to the inside of the 23 of Daniel Keefe, and off of turn 4. This might happen up ahead of him. It does. Oh, big contact there.
Yeah, not quite able to tell who that was, but it looked like, Adam Pettit. Wow, Adam Pettit off turn 3, racing with his teammate Danny Dow. Actually, Danny Dow's on Rev Reloaded.
Oh! I think that was in response to Brandon Domingue catching the wall off of 3. And Dow maybe had a knee-jerk reaction right into the side of his teammate there, the 58 of Adam Pettit, who's already manually disconnected from the server. You'll see Domingue gets the wall, and also Dow was sideways. So I don't think it was a knee-jerk reaction. But still, just the domino effect that led Adam Pettit to be nosing it into an inside wall there.
I actually think Danny Dow, from a driver's point of view, I think Danny Dow was stuck in Brandon Domingue's draft, and Brandon got the wall, and I think Danny was trying to keep from doing the same thing, and was just turning so hard off the corner that he actually oversteered, and was coming down the racetrack, and Adam Pettit just didn't have anywhere to go.
We're going to take a look at some of the cars that are obviously paying tribute to the 13 lives lost in Afghanistan over the recent event. And you'll see there on the hood of Nathan De La Rosa's car the names of all 13 U.S. military members who paid the ultimate sacrifice over in Afghanistan through all the tragic events going on over there. Brian Huntley Jr. also paying tribute in his number 63 Toyota Supra.
Yeah, and here at SRN, we always like to thank our service members for the sacrifice that them and their families make. And it was just a really sad day last week, hearing that these Marines and I believe it was 2 Navy service members that lost their lives over in Afghanistan. So, nice for these guys to pay tribute to those 13 fallen heroes. And there's also a couple other guys out here running some patriotic paints, showing their support as well.
Yeah, a lot of red, white, and blue and military camos out on the racetrack. Devin Zimmerman, Aaron Gerwitz running patriotic schemes. Just a lot of support, a lot of national pride in this field tonight. And despite the tragic events, I think the fact that people come together in a sense like that, either to pay their respects or show that they're still prideful to be here as Americans, it is a great atmosphere, I think, to be in.
Yeah, it truly is. It's nice to see the SRN. We like to call this a family come together and support a cause that I think everybody supports in their own way. But back out to the racetrack for after that, because I'm kind of not gonna lie, kind of tearing up a little bit because that hits me and kind of hits me home. Seth Reed out front. Kind of thinking about pit stops a little bit, Emerson. I don't expect these guys to pit this early, but the way the tire wear here is here, tire fall off, like I said earlier, is 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. So, from your driver's perspective, what would be a good time that you would see to come down and take 4 tires?
Well, for me, I think this depends on the likelihood of yellows in the race, but I'd love to work this backwards like a road course. If I can get a caution at about lap, say, 11, 12, and be pretty sure that we're not going to get cautions for the rest of the race, for the most part, I'd pit then, because the fuel window we're hearing is about 24, 25 laps across all the series this week at Pocono, with the 70% fuel loads for these cars. And I'm thinking there, you'll be able to break the rest of the race in half, make an easy one stop after that. If you can rely on your peers to keep it green for 48 laps. Now, it's a tall task after what we saw in the truck series. But at that, I'd love to work this race backwards like a road course, as many real-life teams do that when they come here to Pocono.
I've never quite understood the running the race backwards, strategy. It's not that I wouldn't try it. It's just I've never, as a iRacing driver, I've never really thought of it like that. I've always been, either, run almost the whole fuel run, try to short pit to gain an advantage on the guys you're racing, or just run the whole fuel run out so you don't have to worry about a caution. But the good thing here is if we do go green and have green flag pit stops, you can actually pit here and not lose a lap. So you can risk the strategy and not have to be worried about getting trapped a lap down if the caution does come out.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge point that teams make when they do attempt that strategy is, hey, if it doesn't go all the way right, you're not going to be in hot water just yet when you make that pit stop. The field working their way now double wide through the tunnel turn, getting ready to get back going for the first restart of the evening. It is Seth Reed, Adrian Schumacher, the front row with James Shane Wolf, Vincent Cortez, row 2, and Corey Saucier, Tristan Bailey, row number 3. To up here, the order hasn't shaken up too much, except Shane Wolf has now moved in the third over Cortez. We'll have to see here if the field is ready for another early jump like Seth Reed did on the initial start.
Yeah, it's all about guessing those restarts, and as the guy on the outside line, you're kind of at a disadvantage because third place can actually get a better jump than you can. We'll just have to see how this restart goes.
Over the iRacing.com safety vehicle makes its safety into the pit lane. We're racing once again. That's a better start from Schumacher as opposed to the initial start of the race, but Seth Reed still has the clear advantage heading down to turn number 1.
Yeah, and I think again after that early caution, these guys are wanting to get some green flag runs because a lot of these guys during the week practice long runs, and they're like, hey, I've saved my. As we see Adrian Schumacher here going for the lead on Seth Reed. I think Reed's going to have the run down the straightaway off that outside line.
He's going to play it defensive.
Yeah, a little defensive, but you definitely don't want to enter the corner like that, especially here in the tunnel turn.
Yeah, very early here to be maybe taking that kind of a shallow line to defend your position, but at the same time trying to break the draft down the long straightaway there between turn 1 and turn 2. And about that, we haven't even really talked about the way this track is set up. Let's see if we can make it through turn 3, I guess, first before we get too far into that. The field much more single file, but in the heart of the pack is where I'm really worried if they can make it out of that corner in one piece.
I was looking at third battle for second there with James Shane Wolf putting some pressure on Adrian Schumacher there coming off turn 3. We'll see if he can get a run on him here going through 1.
Up through 1, looks like Schumacher washes up the track a little bit. Shane Wolf gets down to the inside, but coming up the track may not be the end of the world because you're able to get a little bit more momentum off the banking down the straightaway, but Shane Wolf actually noses out ahead. They're going side by side through the tunnel.
Yeah, and this would be where, you don't necessarily want to go too wide through here. I think Schumacher realized that after he got in the corner, but you'll see a lot of guys back off before they get to the entry of 2 because it's just really hard to go side by side through the tunnel turn.
Absolutely, especially if it's this early in the race. There is no need to be that risky this early. We're now watching Seth Reed pull away, and here comes Vincent Cortez, and he's bringing company along with Tristan Bailey trying to power out. We got a car into the pit lane. Oh, big incident back there for the single car. Up and over is Kyle Johnson.
Yeah, no caution.
Green.
No caution for that as he spun onto pit road, so iRacing saying he's off the racing surface, so no caution for that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a replay of that later on in the race, but big moment there for Kyle Johnson. Well, Kyle Johnson has entered the pit lane. I'd say he has definitely entered the pit lane. We're watching James Shane Wolf now, who's kind of cleared his way into the second position, emerging as an early contender to see if he can chase down Seth Reed. The gap has stayed stagnant at 0.6 of a second as they work their way off of the third corner, and Schumacher's really dropping down early. This could be a tire conservation move. I know him as a driver to really take it super easy, super early in these races.
Yeah, but, for me, seeing how Pocono is, it's kind of a track position race. I mean, yes, you want to save tires, but it seems like once you get to a certain part of the run, the tires kind of plateau and everybody starts running the same lap times. Oh, as Hedgecox gets a little loose down there. And Saucier's around.
Speedway. Because of that, Corey Saucier around off of turn number 1 in that number 19 Chevrolet Camaro. And we're going to get a Beer Street Journal rec replay. And, of course, Beer Street Journal, please drink responsibly. We'll get the replay here first of the Corey Saucier incident off of turn number 1 that brought out the second caution of the evening here at Pocono Raceway.
Yeah, and I bet you this is going to be... Oh, and we saw Hedgecox get loose, and he actually got into Saucier, sending him into the inside wall there off turn 2.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, 3 wide. They all tightened up off the corner, all fighting for the same piece of real estate. Corey Saucier, he couldn't keep it pinned down there much longer just because of the natural trajectory of the car. He made contact there with Hedgecox, and unfortunately, Saucier was the victim of the incident.
Sadly, I don't think Hedgecox knew that he was quite down there. Because Corey wasn't there on the entry, he was there on the exit. But it does look like that Corey might have pushed up just a little bit on exit as well, so it could have been a little bit of both.
Yeah, now we're going to work our way back to a lap or so. We'll find a one of Kyle Johnson, who had probably one of the wildest rides here off of turn 3 here at Pocono. A car in the wall, and Nathan Nixon, I think that 10 had a knee-jerk reaction and huge impact for Kyle Johnson, barrel rolling in. Oh my goodness, the poor pit crew members down there in danger.
It's about the 3rd car we've seen get launched into pit road this week between the Truck Series and now the Xfinity Series. But yeah, Nathan Nixon gets into the wall there off 3, and Ted Wreckage just reacting to it gets into Kyle Johnson and, man, sends him down pit road.
Oh, man. I think we're glad the car count this week was not past 37 because of all those empty pit boxes back there. That is scary if you're down in pit box 37, Vo.
Yeah, I think Ted was telling Kyle he needed 4 tires.
He definitely made the strategy call for him, made him have an early pit. Unfortunately, and I think that was going to be pretty obvious, as we have some people faking the pit lane there. Tristan Bailey does take to it.
I think Tristan Bailey actually got baited a little bit there. There's the other 2 guys pulled up to go back out on the track, and Tristan just didn't have enough time to react. But I was just about to say, before we saw that it would not be a bad idea to come down and take tires. We've gone through, I wouldn't say quite half of a fuel run, maybe a little bit over a quarter. But the tire wear here is like we've talked about time and time again. It'd be a good idea to come down. You've probably lost about half a second to 3/4 of a second per lap in speed on these tires. So these guys here coming down and taking fresh tires can be that much faster than these leaders when we see the green flag come back out.
Absolutely, and a lot of takers. I mean, we're looking at nearly upwards of 20 cars that came down the pit lane there. Tristan Bailey will come out in 14th after being in 4th. Lost to 10 spots, but fresh tires for Tristan Bailey. And I'll be a strong advocate for the fuel strategy side of things. I ran the Xfinity Series last year. I know that tire life is everything. But the other side of that is, look at what lap we're on. We're on lap 11 of 60. These drivers can go about 24, 25 laps on fuel, save some fuel under this caution. And if we don't have another caution this race, they're set to make it on one stop.
Yeah, I just, I see where you're coming from there. But I feel like with the tire sets that these drivers actually have, I believe they have 5 in total, including the set that they start on. So I just think tires are going to be a premium tonight, and you're really going to want those more than you're going to be worried about fuel.
We'll have to see how it all plays out as we are still working our second caution of the evening of tonight's race. We're going to bring up here, remember earlier we talked about the Revved Up for the Cause and, of course, the Battle of the Teams race next Saturday night. Well, here is that QR code if you so wish to donate in Revved Up for the Cause, of course, benefiting Sadie, and some more info. Of course, a lot of prizes if you're in that event. There's viewer prizes as well, but that event going on Saturday, September 11th, laying the Talladega 100 laps. That's slightly longer than half a cup race there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's for a good cause. Talladega is probably not one of my type of tracks. For some reason, me and super speedways just don't get along. But you know what? For a cause that Revved Up for the Cause is putting on, I'd be more than happy to do 100 laps at Talladega, even if that means destroying my race car. That's completely fine with me.
Absolutely, the virtual race cars and the pixels can have at it. It's all for Sadie, of course, but with that, if you do wish to donate, once again, there's the QR code. Open up your phone. If you have an iPhone, aim your camera at it, scan that code, and if you still wish to donate, you can do so there. But again, next Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be 100 laps, Talladega Super Speedway. Should be a fun race. And the 8 cars there, the package, a little tricky. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and getting back to this race here, I'm thinking about this restart, and the top 13. I believe you said Tristan Bailey came out 14th, so the top 13 stayed out on the tires that they started with. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting restart. We're going to have to see how this all plays out with a small portion of the field having older tires compared to those guys that just pitted.
We'll see if Bailey, if he can get the 4-4 better, it'll be a net gain towards his cause. We'll see here the field packed up. It's James Shane Wolf to the outside of Seth Freed as the iRacing.com safety vehicle gets off the racetrack. We're racing once again from Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
Again, Seth Reed just has these guys guessing on these restarts as he gets another great restart as they go off here into turn 1, and not as fanned out as I thought it would be on this restart with those guys having fresher tires.
Yeah, again, if you have them, you don't want to use them all up in the first corner because it's very difficult to overtake here. But again, you want to put yourself in that position to get as much as you can on these restarts. And we have another caution on the speedway.
Oh, a couple cars involved in this one.
71, a Travis Trevelyan, one of those involved. And again, turn 1 being Calamity Corner tonight here for the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series drivers. And we'll get another rec replay here presented by Beer Street Journal. Again, please drink responsibly. We'll see what happened to Travis Trevelyan off of turn number 1.
Oh, it just gets loose behind. Whoa, and got
Derek De Silva, nowhere to go.
I'd like to get an onboard of Tyler Markle there. He kind of drove through the gap in between De Silva and Travis Trevelyan there off of turn 1. I think he'd have a really good view of this. Oh, as well as Jack Hedgecock had a good view of that as well.
And that's what happens, especially on cold tires. If he pitted for fresh tires there, he is on cold tires, and they're not anywhere near up the temp. They don't have the grip they should have at race conditions, and you see there Tyler Markle just, kind of eases his way through the accident scene there. But
we had one more. Yeah, we had one more. That's a 66 of Nathan De La Rosa. A little bit of aftermath. I don't know what quite happened there. Have to watch and see.
And he went down to the bottom of the racetrack. He hit the bump.
Yeah, it's very, very bumpy down here on the apron of this racetrack. It's kind of the pavement is not as even as what it is out on the racetrack, and you can clearly see that with Nathan De La Rosa going down there.
Yeah, that used to be grass down there before they repaved this track back in, 2011, 2012. But yeah, that's very tragic. He was just trying to avoid the incident, and unfortunately, the characteristics of the racetrack, of the apron off the racing surface, is what's going to catch out Nathan De La Rosa there. And again, any kind of damage like that is detrimental to your race. And once again, drivers trying to bait drivers down the pit lane, and I don't think there was many takers.
Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing very long of green flag runs here, so I don't believe that these guys quite think that they've put enough wear on their tires to have to come down and use one of those sets of tires.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with the point you made earlier about track position, and I do agree track position is everything, especially in a race like this. I don't see there being a lot of time for you to make up spots if you do lose your track position, if we continue at the pace that we're currently at. James Shane Wolf has done a phenomenal job on the restarts tonight, put himself into second position, and I mean, he might have something for Seth Reed, but he has not had the time to demonstrate if he does.
Yeah, I mean, for some of these guys, they haven't been able to demonstrate anything. But one thing I was wanting to do, I was looking at some of the guys up here in the top 5, and I was wanting to see if we could bring Rhett Tucker up into the booth. He's one of our biggest movers, up from 22nd up to the top 5, sitting right there in 4th, and wanted to see if we could bring him up and get as... Never mind, as he is not in the Discord, so we're not going to be able to do that. I don't know, Emerson. How about you pick one? Let's see who you got.
I want to hear maybe from Shane Wolf if we can, just because he had a phenomenal start to this race, and want to see if he has anything for Seth Reed, if he feels that way anyway. And we're gonna bring him on up here right now. James Shane Wolf, the SRN booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to the Speed Racing Network. I believe y'all made your debut last week, but here you are, Pocono. A lot of speed in the initial start of this race. Made up a lot of spots here. Put yourself in second. How was it moving through the field that early?
I just took advantage of the restarts here. Trying to get a good jump. Hold the gas a little bit longer, getting into the corners than the rest of the guys, and that's basically it. Just being aggressive on these restarts, picking them off one at a time.
Yeah, we saw your team have a great run at Richmond last week to start off your debut here in SRN, and you guys, showed speed in practice, and you're looking good here in the race as well. How much practice do y'all put in during the week to prepare for these races?
Man, a lot. I could probably honestly get around here with my eyes closed with the amount of laps that we've turned this week. Justin does a great job as a team owner here to give us all the resources possible. I mean, there's no lack of practice time that he'll put up a 24-hour session if you ask him to, just so that way you can get the laps in. I mean, he's always there for you, so it's definitely a team effort. But yeah, between myself and the team alone, we've probably run close to 2,000 laps here this week.
All right, James. Well, we're getting ready to get back to racing here. So before that, we'll give you the chance to shout out who we're going to shout out. Thank you. We're going to thank for your number 53 being up in second right now.
Yeah, big shout out to Track Racer for everything they do here for JW Racing. Another shout out to Thunder Valley Tavern out there in Bristol, Tennessee. I know the NASCAR races are going to be out there in a couple weeks, so make sure you stop in there and have yourself a cold adult beverage.
Well, right on. Best luck to your driver. Hopefully, we'll talk to you a little bit later on in this event, James.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Driver of the number 53, James Shane Wolf, running in the second position there, and Lacey getting ready now for the third restart of this race. The fourth, go at this from double wide once again behind the iRacing.com safety vehicle. Seth Reed, James Shane Wolf, here to come.
We'll see if James can keep up a little better with Seth Reed, and that will be a big no as Seth gets another great restart. And just keeping these guys on their toes on these restarts. They've seen him do it a couple times here, and he still has them guessing as they go off here into turn one.
The battle is then for third. Rhett Tucker trying to power his way around the outside of Vincent Cortez, and he'll clear onto the final spot on the podium. Vincent Cortez loses out there to Rhett Tucker. You're now down to Long Pond straightaway. Rhett Tucker might have something for Shane Wolf.
Yeah, we saw Rhett Tucker last week at Richmond just flat out dominate, led over half of the race last week, and looking to go, back to back here at Pocono as he's having a very strong car here tonight. As we have another yellow
on the speedway. Daniel Keefe Jr. and more involved.
Ted Wreckage. It's that Greg Olenek for the second week.
Oh, the point leader.
2 weeks in a row for Greg Olenek.
Massive damage there. That is potentially race ending there. That definitely is competitive night over for the 31 of Greg Olenek. We're going to get a Beer Street General Rec replay. Once again, please drink responsibly to see what happened to our point leader in trouble here in the tunnel turn.
Wow, teammates side by side through the tunnel turn there, and Danny Dowd, Ted, gets loose off the tunnel turn and gets into his teammate. And there was another car as well that we did not mention. We mentioned Jack Hedgecox and Ted Wreckage, but there was a fourth car that we did not mention.
Trying to ID it here, and 23 Keefe, and there was another car there as well. But he got loose really late there. Blair Holloman, the other car involved.
Yeah, running up from the truck series, Blair Holloman trying out his Xfinity, skills, and just gets caught up in something none of his cause. Just wrong place, wrong time.
Now, Ted, he got loose there really late out of the corner. I mean, what do you think that's all about? Maybe just a little too much throttle at the center? But the car just took off.
No, that's just nature of these cars. As I mentioned in the pre-race show, these cars like to lighten up in the rear end on exit, especially right there off the tunnel turn because it's such a sweeping exit. And I think Ted was just trying to catch it and just got into his. I think if Greg Olenek wouldn't have been there, I think he would have, but unfortunately Greg was there, and it ended up taking both of them out for the night.
Once again, the drivers playing their theatrics coming off of turn 3 to see who's coming down the pit lane and who's putting on an act. And that time around, not many, if there is any takers. But unfortunately, about 3 or 4 nights were just ended in that very unfortunate incident off the tunnel.
Yeah, and these guys don't want to say it, these guys need to straighten up a little bit. I'm running out of content to talk about. And Sean, our producer, warned me about that tonight. He was like, "We're gonna see how much you got to talk about," and he's right. But I think the more we get into this race, the more we could possibly see green flag runs. So you see Corey Saucier getting the lucky dog there after being in one of our cautions, a couple cautions ago.
Yeah, get himself back in this race, and certainly at this rate, his race is not over, especially if the car is relatively clean. Now, Seth Reed doing a phenomenal job. If you are Seth Reed, though, you can't make it to the end on your current tank of fuel. When do you make that pit stop?
I don't like to let many people in on my secrets, but you know what? Like I said, I'm kind of out of content, so you kind of want to. You figure up the fuel run in practice, and you kind of use it as to base off your tires as well. And you kind of go about halfway. If you say, okay, whether it's under caution or it's under green, well, basically if it's under green, if I've ran this many amount of laps on my tires and fuel, I'm coming down for tires and fuel. It's just a way to say I'm not losing anything by pitting here. I'm not gaining anything by pitting here. It's just the right time to pit. These guys are kind of at that point, but they haven't ran enough green flag laps on the tires to say, okay, I'm ready to come down and give up my track position for some fresher tires.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think that's a nice reference point about you halfway in that run, especially like if we think that maybe to the Cup race at Richmond, where I know you led a lot of that. And we got some runs at kind of unique amounts that were kind of running 20, 30 laps on tires, and then we get a yellow. And it was kind of at that point, well, I mean, that's a lot of laps on tires, but, do we have the tire sets to make it if we keep getting cautions at this rate? Here for this, they have plenty of tire sets here at Pocono, but in that regard, it varies from track to track like this. I think we're very well past halfway in the fuel run, but in terms of lap count, and you see Ted Wreckage's, explanation for the wreck just literally snapped for no reason. Awesome. Wanted to say sorry to all involved. 100% on him.
Yeah, that's nice of Ted to come out and kind of not necessarily say I messed up, but it it happens. It's all part of racing, and it's nice for him to come out and apologize to one, his teammate, and two, the rest of the guys that were involved in that accident.
Right, and again, to me, just because it's so late in the corner, it caught me by surprise, and maybe because it looks a little different from the TV cameras than it is in the cockpit. But I don't know. At that point, like he said, it snapped on him for no reason. That's what it definitely looked like. Unfortunately, our point leader Greg Olenek was involved, but what that does open the door to is Devin Zimmerman potentially making a run at that point lead there in 7th. He's kind of hovered around there all race, hasn't had much opportunity to improve. But here we go for a restart.
Yep, as we go, pace car will pull down, and we'll see if these guys, as James gets a little bit better of a start there this time, but Seth Reed will once again clear him before they get off into 1, and the battle's going to be for 3rd between Rhett Tucker and Vincent Cortez.
Yeah, they were going toe-to-toe last time around. They inversed the lanes they were running, but Tucker sends it on in there. And he'll power right on by to 69. He'll get clear. And how about the 54 of Ballesteros there into the 5th position, showing some more muscle for JW Racing.
And JW Racing having 3 cars in the top 10. Actually, 4 cars. My bad. All 5 cars are in the top 10. With Shane Wolf in 2nd, Ballesteros in 5th. Michael Larch in 7th, and Matthew Robinson in 8th, And then you got Jacob Rideout in 10th. Justin Rideout, my bad.
Yeah, a lot of speed there. Adrian Schumacher just fell out the top 10 to Justin Rideout. How about Joshua Marcy trying to work his way forward? And he's got Dylan Patterson to his outside. That was a huge blink there for Marcy, which will probably scare Patterson into the corner. He goes side by side. Patterson sends it on in there a little too much, though. Up the hill he goes. Loses 13th, potentially a spot here to Jordan Bain.
You got to be careful when you run that outside line going into one. There's a set of bumps on the entry that will do exactly what happened to just Dylan Patterson. You'll kind of hit that front splitter on them, and it'll shoot you up the racetrack. So you can run that outside line for sure. You just got to be careful with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to be on the outside instead of pin down to the inside if it were me. But at the same time, it's all about, what's that limit, and it changes per car as well. How about Shane Wolf now under attack from last week's winner, Rhett Tucker?
Again, Rhett Tucker looking really, really strong tonight. Like I stated earlier, started 22nd all the way up to 3rd and looking for more, going after Shane Wolf for 2nd.
Rhett Tucker's not alone. He cleared Vincent Cortez, but he's dragging Vincent Cortez into this battle to make it a 3-car battle for that 2nd position at Seth Reed. He likes seeing those guys grouped up, but he liked for them to get side by side. It's just so difficult to do at Pocono, especially with, how many laps on the tires, and everybody's kind of lost on that count at this point with all the caution laps. What really is the state of everybody's tires?
You're a driver. You know the state of your tires. It's just, how do you manage that when you don't know when the next caution is going to be or if there's going to be another caution? You just never know when it comes to this. And then you got to work out the strategy, like, hey, how much tires have I used and how much fuel have I used, and what would be a good lap to come down pit road.
Well, check this out. Shane Wolf caught the wall out of 3, and that opened the door for Rhett Tucker to send it on in there into turn 1, but Shane Wolf keeps him pinned down there. He'll stay to his outside. They'll go side by side through the exit of 1 and down to Long Pond. Shane Wolf trying to keep the power to the outside of Tucker.
And Tucker should have the preferred line here. I think Shane Wolf might yield that position to him as they go here into 2. No, he's going to race him for it, which Tucker's going to get tight and possibly push up into him. Not quite, as these guys running side by side as they go off into 3.
That has let Seth Reed open now a 2nd advantage over Tucker and Shane Wolf as the amazing battle for 2nd continues. Tucker with the preferred line through 3. He'll clear Shane Wolf, and here comes Cortez on Shane Wolf for 3rd.
In the wall.
Moment behind.
I believe they kept it straight. I don't quite know who that was. I don't think.
Maybe it was somebody getting loose. We'll see what happens, but everybody looks like they keep their ducks in a line as we continue on here. Cortez now under attack from Shane Wolf, and here comes the 54 Ballesteros in the 4th position, potentially on his teammate Shane Wolf. Devin Zimmerman looking to take advantage of it as well as the JW cars go side by side into the tunnel turn. Move Ballesteros into 4th. Here comes Zimmerman trying to take 5th.
Yeah, and I think what really hurt Shane Wolf there was going side by side with Tucker so long, because here at Pocono, you go side by side, that just drags everybody that's behind you closer to you. As you saw Seth Reed pull away, but it brings those guys behind you to you, and when you get passed by one guy, you might get freight trained by 3 or 4 more, just depending on how many people are lined up right there after you get done with your battle.
And now we're getting the longest green flag run of the day. And at this point, now we're looking at can these drivers make it to maybe, say, lap 35 to make it to the end? It'll be interesting to see with all the caution laps if they can make it to that number, or do they try to make it a 2-stop from here to the end and in the favor of tire life? We'll see. But Seth Reed with a 2nd advantage. He doesn't even necessarily have to make the first move. If maybe, say, 2nd or 3rd pits, he can pit the next lap at this gap.
Yeah, and another thing, yes, if you pit here, you don't lose a lap, but as well, we talk about tire wear. Short pitting here is not a thing that you necessarily want to do because of the tire fall off is so bad. You could have someone, say Seth Reed, pits, and then Rhett Tucker stays out 5 more laps. Seth Reed's going to make a small gain on Rhett Tucker, But Rhett Tucker, after he comes out of pit road, is going to make a bigger gain because Seth Reed has already lost, a quarter of a second to half a second on his tires.
Check this out. Tucker slid up the track. Here comes Cortez. Can he take second away from Tucker? Trying to stay on that left rear quarter panel. Trying to slow Tucker down with potential side draft. They'll try to go side by side into the tunnel. Cortez backs off.
Yeah, very smart move there to back off because, as we've stated, it's just... But you see Ballesteros trying to take advantage of Vincent having to back off, but Vincent threw a block on him there coming off the tunnel turn.
And I'm mixed emotions here with the lines these drivers are running. Tucker, with that high line, he'll be able to kind of have an easier line off the corner. But because of how long that corner is, the short way around also seems pretty appetizing. They now file nose to tail down the front straightaway, and Seth Reed has a 1.6 second advantage now.
Yeah, Seth Reed's just loving to see these guys go side by side because, the more they battle, the more he's going to pull away because he's got nobody around him to even try and battle him. So he's just, running his line as smooth as he can while those guys behind him just, basically overdrive their cars trying to pass each other.
That's basically what's happening. We look on further back, another JW Racing vehicle. It's the 52 of Michael Larch tailing this, 6-7 car train. He's got one more car behind him. That's Justin Wright out as well. A train of cars here led by Rhett Tucker, and I don't know if really anybody has anything to do about it. I think that's Zimmerman trying to make a move on Shane Wolf once again. But other than that, everybody's kind of riding in line.
I think, I don't want to jinx it, but I believe we're going to see a little bit of a green flag run here. Some of these guys have started to split up into packs, and not only that, they're starting to spread out a little bit more. So I think we're really going to get into a long green flag run here as these guys start settling into the positions they find.
They're going at it for a second once again. Cortez closed right up to the rear bumper of Rhett Tucker one more time. Down to Long Pond. Tucker is holding station on the high side, and Cortez is bomb drafting him down to Long Pond, sending it into the tunnel turn. Can he upset Tucker? He gets the run through the center of the corner, now side by side in a short shoot to turn 3.
I was about to say, him bump drafting Tucker as he battles him here going into 3, and I believe he's going to get him, have him cleared before the exit. But I was about to say, actually bump drafting Tucker instead of trying to pass him, you might be able to draft back up to Seth Reed. But if it was 1.45 seconds when they went off into turn 2, and Seth Reed's done gained 0.2 of a second since they started battling again. So it might just be a better idea to get in line and try to help each other get back up to Seth Reed.
The great battle for a second continues. Tucker clears Cortez. Once again, Cortez got a little high through 1 and 2 caution on the speedway.
Well, I jinxed it, guys. I'm sorry.
I'll try to figure out what exactly happened here. Not too sure what happened, but we're going to get a Beer Street General Rec replay to see what did happen. We got this caution on lap 30 of this race. We're not entirely sure what brought out this caution tonight here on lap 30, but this
I think it was the 23 possibly. I think because he was stopped on the end of pit road to blend back in with the racetrack, and I think he was trying to let the field go by, and he just came to almost a complete stop, which brought out the caution.
Yeah, and the iRacing detection, you might recall if maybe you played Enter 2003 and maybe you try to go backwards with some of the AIs. If you get detected by faster traffic as going severely off the pace, iRacing will detect it as a threat to the track and it'll throw a caution. And I think that's exactly what happened. Even though he wasn't necessarily on the racing surface, he was heading towards the racing surface, and I think iRacing detected that he was a potential threat to the leaders and displayed the yellow flag.
Yeah, and that's not as a driver myself, that'd be something I'd really hate to see is a a green flag run that looked like it had good potential to be ruined by something so small. Nothing. I don't think Daniel Keith was meaning any harm by that. He was trying to be considerate and let the field go by before he blended on. But was just a little bit too slow there.
And that's unfortunately what happens here, Pocono. I'm pretty sure we're going to get pit stops at this point. We were at too many laps for us not to get pit stops. But, trying to be considerate at the same time, you can't do that to a run. It's really not throwing us for the loop here that if we go green to the end, it's going to be really tough to make it to the end from these stops as everybody comes down to pit lane.
Yeah, and even though the guys that pitted earlier, I believe it was around like 14 or so, I believe we'll see just about every lead lap car come down and take 4 tires as we had a pretty good green flag run right there.
Yeah, not many staying out, but a couple did. Hedgecox and Marco De La Rosa. And we'll see here. Make sure you don't get yourself a penalty. Make sure you don't slide through your box. And we'll see who comes out with the top spot. Seth Reed looks like the likely pick. As drivers are down away with their service over on down to pit lane. Seth Reed does win the race off the pit lane as it's a drag race for second.
I think Hedgecox might have got it. I don't quite know where as he did. Sorry, my bad. I think I am so lost tonight. I think Shane Wolf got it over Vincent Cortez as it looks that way as they blend back onto the racetrack.
Well, Jack Hedgecox, along with his Striker Motorsports teammate Tyler Barkle, and potentially... oh, no, that's a JBR car behind me. I was going to say that's another Striker car. But 2 Striker cars have decided to stay out at the halfway point of this race. Intriguing move, but at the same time, it's going to be difficult to make it to the end from here to the checkers. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about Markle, but I think for Hedgecox, this might just be a strategy to get a bonus point for leading a lap. He's got a little bit of damage there that he might want to get. If he hasn't gotten fixed yet, he might want to get that fixed. But he last pitted on lap 15, so might want to come down and take tires here. But I really think he stayed out to get that bonus point.
You know what? And Tyler Markle pitted on lap 19. He's pitting now, so I don't know why Markle didn't come down the first time. You think if they're teammates, they would have discussed this, maybe in their team Discord. But if Markle was trying to stay out to get a lap led, there was a communication failure between the teammates. That means Nathan De La Rosa will get a lap led. And, I don't even think Hedgecox or Markle got that lap led anyway, because I think Reed got the initial lap led, and De La Rosa maybe got that one.
I'm pretty sure Hedgecox got the last one when all the leaders came down pit road. But for Nathan De La Rosa here, he's kind of the single man out. Not sure when the last time he pitted. Okay, lap 18 is actually what we're hearing that he last pitted. So, I don't know how this strategy is going to go, but I think he's just going to get eaten up here on this restart by these fresh tires.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 15 laps since he's last pitted, and let's say 10 green flag laps on his tires, which you're going to see demonstrated here. And to add to that, his car is not entirely clean either. So a lot negatively looking at Nathan De La Rosa's race. He could try to make it, an even 2-stop. He pit on 18, call it, say, about 20 with the caution laps. And maybe, he pits at 40, he'll split this race in even thirds. But other than that, I don't really know this move. We'll see what happens. Nathan De La Rosa is the leader, and he'll have control on this restart. Seth Reed to his outside. The shakeup in the pit lane has Shane Wolf in third, Vincent Cortez fourth, Larch in fifth, Ballesteros sixth, Rhett Tucker seventh, Devin Zimmerman eighth, Dylan Patterson ninth, and Justin Rideout in 10th.
Yeah, we've been talking about tire fall off, and we've kind of been emphasizing it. And I think you're about to see why we've been emphasizing it so much, as we'll see. As I really think we'll see Nathan De La Rosa fall out of the top 10 before we even get through one lap.
Well, we're back to racing from Pocono, and De La Rosa, as the leader, gets control of the restart, gets a little bit of the advantage. But through turn one, we'll see how this all plays out. Seth Reed already has side by side into turn number one on De La Rosa and into the corner. Seth Reed will power around the 66 and try to reclaim the race lead. He's not clear yet. De La Rosa fights strong on the inside, and now Seth Reed is clear. Here comes Shane Wolf. Here comes Cortez, and the fall of Nathan De La Rosa down the running order is here.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was talking about. He might stay in the top 10. I might have a little overstated it, but Shane Wolf got a little bit loose there off the tunnel turn. He's trying to get after Seth Reed before Seth Reed tries to pull that gap out again.
Oh my goodness, this is. I mean, what are you thinking if you're a driver like this? Just free falling down the running order, trying not to get ran over, trying not to get wrecked, while trying to make a strategy work. And at that rate, I don't know how much this really paid off.
Yeah. I think he was just praying for an early caution. I mean, he definitely is now because he's saying I should have pitted, but this is kind of what we expected. As again, we state that the emphasis of tire fall off, and this is why, because you stay out on not so worn tires, but it's just the fall off is so bad that's what ends up happening.
And Seth Reed has now opened up a 7/10 of a second advantage. We'll make the 8/10 entering the tunnel back to 7. And we've got a car around. It's Tristan Bailey, caution on the speedway.
2 weeks in a row for him as well after the win at Nashville. Had a bad week last week at Richmond with an incident, and now again here at Pocono as he's missing the whole rear deck lid off that 88 machine.
Big damage to the Nashville Super Speedway winner. And we're going to get a Beer Street Journal Rec replay here. Make sure you please drink responsibly. And we'll see what happened to the driver of the number 88 back here in the heart of the pack. And you see he's right ahead. And, contact there by Brandon Domingue.
I think Brandon Domain making his own broadcaster's curse out there tonight. We haven't really mentioned him like Sean did last week, but I guess
that's one way to get TV time.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess he wanted us to say his name. he had Tristan Bailey to thank for that one. But no, I don't think he meant to. Tristan Bailey actually had a little bit of a higher entry even for the outside lane. Not kind of an unconventional line, and they just seemed to come together there.
Domain's car was severely damaged there in the rear end, and in all that dirty air and all of the hectic nature of the pack there around Brandon Domain. He's just given the EOL as well. I think that's pretty obvious at that. But Domain, such a shallow line in the tunnel turn. The only other thing could have been, to back off earlier. But that's a very, very tough scenario to be in.
Yeah, and that damage, it, even though it is in the rear, and you think about it, with the aero, the rear not being as important as those side panels, but with that splitter being all bent up on the back, or the spoiler, not splitter, my bad, being all bent up in the back is going to really, really hurt his straightaway speed.
We'll pull this up one more time. The Revved Up for the Cause, of course, raising money, benefiting Sadie. There's a lot of prizes and viewer prizes up for grabs as well, whether you're in the race or a viewer. On Saturday, September 11th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll have the A cars at Talladega Super Speedway for 100 laps. It's going to be a grand old time, and of course, this is all for Sadie. And if you wish to donate to the cause, you can pull out your phone, aim the camera at your screen, at that QR code down in the bottom left, pull up that link, and donate at your will.
Yeah, we did this last season and actually had a prize drawings for the drivers, and they actually decided to change it up a little bit this season and actually do prizes for people that actually just come out, watch the stream, donate. There's a lot of very cool prizes that people are giving out this season. Sparkle and Shine really pitched in a good bit. So if you just show up and watch and come support the stream on Saturday, then you might walk out with some pretty cool merchandise.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news and hate for this to be the segue out of this, but Travis Trevelyan, who was the lucky dog for this caution, just blew up after he passed the pace car. This is huge. He's down on the access lane down in turn 3. Trevelyan was just trying to get back into this race, and the engine, wasn't too happy about getting back in this race.
Yeah, sadly, he's, bad night goes the worst. I kind of like his nose, though, to be honest with you. It says move backwards, so when you see it in your mirror, it's actually move the correct way. So nice little touch to that IR Bodies paint that he's got right there.
Yeah, like ambulance on the front ends of ambulances. I like that. That's clever. Um, we continue on here at Pocono. 23 laps to go. Lights are off on top of the safety vehicle. We'll double wide once again, and well, same song. What is this? 6th, 7th verse? Where Seth Reed is the control car on the restart. Well, actually, no. There was a little change to the song at the halfway caution there, but other than that, now these drivers, with the help of the caution laps here, very long caution laps at that, should be okay to make it to the end. If we get green, white, checkers, that's a different story, but to the end of regulation, these drivers should be okay.
Yeah, if we get 3 more cautions and you folks happen to hear a blender in the background, just don't pay any attention to that. It's just Sean Griffith in the background. He'll be all right.
Oh man. Yeah, just brewing some drinks in light of Beer Street Journal, I'd say.
Something like that. But one guy I've been keeping my eye on here lately is that 8 car of Dylan Patterson. Started the night off in 11th. He's up to 6th, and kind of been just quietly moving his way up. We haven't really been talking about him, but he's once again this week up there in the top 10, and showing his streaks here as we're at a little past the midway point of this race.
Yeah, Patterson, the Dover race winner, showing some muscle throughout the running of this race, and maybe there's just some restart prowess being showed. But that, in a race like this, why not bring out the restart prowess? Because you got to take advantage of what's handed to you, play the cards right, and you might just end up in victory lane. Dylan Patterson to the outside of row number 3 is the iRacing.com safety vehicle. We'll find it safety in the pit lane. Seth Reed launches the field down the front straightaway. We'll see him down in turn 1.
Yeah, and I the way that this race has gone on, whether we've had a couple cautions or green flag race, and it just seems like nobody's had anything for Seth Reed tonight, and we'll have to see if that continues, or if Shane Wolf or Cortez or one of these other guys can get up there and battle him, as Shane Wolf is putting a huge fight on him right now.
This is, I think, the first time tonight Seth Reed has been under attack as they go down to Long Pond. I think Shane Wolf understands the dire situation at hand, trying to send it on in there, but Seth Reed plays beautifully around the outside to hold the top spot.
I kind of pinched Shane Wolf off going there into 2, made him use a little bit shallower of an entry. But Shane Wolf holding strong as he gives him a little bump through turn 3 right there.
I think Shane Wolf knows it's now or never in this battle for the race lead, and Shane Wolf will stay up against the wall while Seth Reed tries to break the slipstream, and the push potentially from Vincent Cortez could have him nearly alongside in the turn 1. Shane Wolf to the outside, Seth Reed down low. Here comes Cortez, and here comes Larch as well.
I was just about to say watch the bumps, and I think Shane Wolf got into him, and that's going to open up the door for Vincent Cortez. Michael Larch, Shane Wolf's teammate, going to help him with a little bit of draft down the straightaway.
A little bit of a blink there from Shane Wolf, trying to stay in the session. James Shane Wolf putting on a phenomenal performance to try to take the race lead away from Seth Reed, but Seth Reed put on an even better act to hold on to that top spot. Here comes Michael Larch to pair up with his JW teammate up there in second. Larch trying to take the third position away from Vincent Cortez, who holds strong on the outside.
Yeah, and still have 4 JW racing cars in the top 10, and 3 of them are right here in the top 5.
Again, all they got to do is make that 8th spot in the team standings, and they can go team championship racing in a few weeks. But time is running out, but they got the team power to do it. It'll be really a matter of how much math can you crank out of these guys to get it done. Here comes the 54 of Ballesteros right behind Michael Larch down to Long Pond, trying to get his teammate up there to Vincent Cortez, holding the flag for Tank.
And we see Rhett Tucker to the outside of Dylan Patterson, but Patterson had the preferred line through the tunnel turn, but we'll see if Rhett Tucker, as he does get a run off the outside line there, and we'll battle him going off into 3.
Rhett Tucker trying to get to the outside of Dover race winner through the long sweeping Milwaukee-esque turn 3, and off of the corner. Rhett Tucker's alongside, and he'll have the run off the corner and up ahead as well. The teammates are side by side. JW teammates, it is the 52 of Larch on the high side of Ballesteros. I'm sorry. It is. That is correct.
As the JW Racing cars battle, you see the fourth one of not Michael Large, of Justin Rideout in 8th there, right behind Tucker and Patterson, trying to, get in front of those two and join his teammates up there that are in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the prime run on the tires. If we are able to go green to the end, your move has to be made now. Because there won't be too much more time for you to make moves like this unless you significantly save tires. Here's Tucker trying to get to the inside of Patterson. To no avail, though. Patterson holds station in 6th.
Yeah, that was really close there, going off into 3 as they almost touched bumpers there. But, Tucker had to check up a little bit, and that's going to help Brightout get a run on him, and we'll see if he can get to the inside of him here going into turn 1.
Nose to tail in this little trio. You see, that's Rideout trying to set it to the inside of Tucker. He slides up off the bottom. Tucker keeps it planted in that second line of off the bottom, trying to get the run down to Long Pond on Patterson.
Yeah, and looking back up front, Seth Reed hasn't really pulled away like he has these last couple runs, as James Shane Wolf and Vincent Cortez are staying right there behind him.
I think there's just a lot less restarts on these tires for Shane Wolf and Cortez, that they're able to hang a little bit better here. And they probably also understand that they don't have to push their tires as much. If they felt that last run, they feel this is a decently length run compared to the rest of the runs earlier in this race, that they got to kind of save some of their stuff. And maybe the same thing for Seth Reed as well. Maybe Seth Reed is saving some stuff as well, feeling that this race could potentially go to the end.
Yes. Yeah, we're kind of watching. I thought Vincent might make a move, but I think he's kind of learned from these past couple runs that I can't really battle with this guy, or Seth Reed pulls away. Maybe I should just work with him, and that way we can keep up. But as we see that down the Long Pond straightaway, that just staying right in his tire tracks and just seeing if they could run down Seth Reed that way.
Absolutely. I think, Vincent Cortez is a young, fast driver, but he's a smart one at that too. Well, I say that he's going toe-to-toe once again with Shane Wolf, but I was hoping that he would try to get Shane Wolf up there. If they could battle, that would be Cortez's invitation into the lead. But they'll go side by side at it for second. And caution on the speedway.
Oh, and Jack Hedgecox, after a top 3 finish at Richmond last week, yeah, it looks like he got into Joshua Marcy.
We'll get a Beer Street Journal rec replay of this incident. Again, please drink responsibly. And I'll take responsibility for this one. I mentioned that this race could go green to the end a couple times, and, well, this is my fault. Joshua Marcy misses the bottom in 3 and 4, clips the left rear there of Jack Hedgecox, and Hedgecox was able to save it. Don't know if that should have been a caution, but what a save from Hedgecox.
Yeah, just sadly when you get a car turned at almost a 90-degree angle, you're most likely to get a caution. As Marcy got in the grass there, kind of a shallow entry into 3, got in the grass, and it just I think his reaction just pushed him up the racetrack, and sadly got into Hedgecox.
Right, once again, unfortunately, Hedgecox lost spots, but with the timing of the caution, he might have gotten those spots back, actually. The caution may have helped Hedgecox, if anything. But Marcy, just a little too low there, right? He clips those left side tires in the grass. A little bit of netcode plays into it, but I'm going to be quite honest. I don't think netcode would have meant anything. I think Marcy was still going to make contact with the 43.
Right, you talk about Hedgecox getting his positions back. Thankfully, when he did get sideways, he didn't come to a stop. He was able to keep his momentum up, as I believe we'll see pit stops here for sure. As almost had contact there. Seth Reed makes a late decision to come down pit road.
Seth Reed was content staying out. He saw the entire field coming on down. He said, I better get on down too, and nearly clipped the pit attenuator there, and the 53 is Shane Wolf, and a bunch of other things.
Yes, these guys are Jordan Bain and Brandon Domain stay out on the racetrack. We saw Seth Reed and Shane Wolf kind of drag racing down pit road, and Shane Wolf actually takes 2 tires. And so does a lot of the other JW Racing drivers.
Intriguing strategy moves by a lot of drivers, and I don't think these 2 tire calls are made if we don't have drivers staying out right now. I think they take 4 tires, and most of them take 4 tires there, but they see maybe Bain, Domingue, who pitted on the last caution, staying out here. Maybe the 2-tire call will keep him, but also I think that shows Shane Wolf knows how important track position is. He had to get out ahead of Seth Reed, and I think that was the play there from Shane Wolf.
Yeah, he was basically saying, hey, I can't get by him out there on the racetrack. Let me pull a little strategy and go out there and try to beat him on pit road and see if I can hold him off for these last probably 12 or 13 laps when we go back green.
What Vat has also done, and I think this has been a team call, because JW Racing is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They're the first 4 cars off the pit lane, and would be the first 4 cars in the running order if it wasn't for Bain and Domain staying out. But Justin Wright out in 6th, Michael Larch in 5th, Drew Ballesteros in 4th, and James Shane Wolf in 3rd. I believe all took 2 tires there. And if Shane Wolf has the power to win this race, he might have just brought himself a little bit of, say, like an NFL offensive line to help him out here.
Yeah, I think the only JW Racing car that was not on that strategy was Matthew Robinson, but he's kind of been around the top 15 and wasn't really in the position to take 2 tires. But yeah, I think as a team perspective, that was a JW Racing call, as all 4 of the drivers up front here only took 2 tires.
Yeah, they're all very fast. They've been those 4 have been around the top 10 for the good portion of today's race. I think Shane Wolf has the edge over the rest of his teammates. And if there isn't maybe a competitive edge over Shane Wolf, we'll see it here on the restart as well. But if Shane Wolf really is the fastest, I think this is a brilliant call to put as many cars between yourself and your primary competition for this race as you can.
Yeah, no, this is going to be interesting for Jordan Bain and Brandon Domain, and it's kind of funny their last names somewhat rhyme. But it's going to be interesting for these guys, seeing that they stayed out. Thankfully they got a couple guys behind them with only 2 tires, but I think we're going to see a little bit of what happened to Nathan De La Rosa a couple restarts ago.
Well, this is all dependent on the state of their tires, when they pitted, and how hard they pushed on the last run. But what is there's no doubt there are laps on their tires, and there's only 1 caution lap on all the tires behind them. Well, at least on 2 tires of the 4 cars behind them, and then fresh tires behind that. So a grab bag strategies in the waning laps here from the Pocono Raceway. We have just eclipsed the truck race distance here at Long Pond, Pennsylvania's Pocono Raceway. And we're getting ready to go here with Jordan Bain as the control car on the inside lane. The iRacing.com safety vehicle makes that left-handed turn into the pit lane. And for the 7th time today, we're racing once again in Pocono.
Jordan Bain gets a pretty good restart, as looks like these JW guys are going to line up and go by Brandon Domain, as Brandon's stuck on the outside line there. But I think there's another call.
Big wreck, Mike Lepicki, Dylan Patterson, the 51 of Matthew Robinson involved, Joshua Marcy, and several more. Tyler Markle up against the outside wall. Corey Saucier involved. Many cars running in the middle of the pack out of this race.
And I believe that started with contact between somebody and Devin. I want to say Zimmerman, because I think I heard somebody on Race Chatter asking Zimmerman what that was all about. So we'll have to see what happened here.
Yep.
Oh.
We'll need to see, I think, a little bit more of that, but the initial contact there was between Zimmerman and Patterson entering turn number 1. Coming up the track, Zimmerman trying to file in line behind Patterson, and quite frankly, he just runs him over entering the corner.
Yeah, I think Patterson, I don't quite remember who that was underneath him going off into 1. Danny Dow. I think he was trying to set up Danny Dow for a crossover, and he backed off, and Zimmerman didn't. And just stacked up like everybody.
It does look like a dramatic change in speed for Patterson, but nonetheless, Devin Zimmerman's car was there, and they made the contact towards the front of the field, which unfortunately caught a lot of drivers involved.
Oh wow.
Talking about 7, 8 cars in that wreck.
Yeah, I think Markle actually didn't get any damage. I think he just came to a complete stop up there, not to hit Michael Lepicki.
Wow.
And I did not call him Walt this week. I'm proud of that. But I kind of wanted to get, if our producer Sean would be so kind, to get a onboard shot of Zach Deutscher in the 2 machine. I believe he got a little bit of damage, but compared to the rest of the guys around him, he got relatively none.
Well, we'll see here from the eyes of the driver. He's riding behind the 46 of Mike Lepicki entering the corner, and you'll see here the contact between Zimmerman and Patterson, and a little bit of contact there. But he should be okay. I don't know if that's a race-winning car. I don't know if it was a race-winning car to begin with, but I definitely don't think it is now. But still can gain some spots in that car.
Yeah, and again, more bad luck for Corey Saucier. We saw him spun off the tunnel turn earlier in the race, and now we see him with more damage following this incident.
Well, in a night where Devin Zimmerman needed to capitalize on Greg Olenik's early exit, Devin Zimmerman has ran into the back of Dylan Patterson. He gave himself an EOL, essentially, for causing that incident. We'll see if he can regain those spots to see if he can claim the points lead, because where Devin was running, he would have been the points leader leaving tonight's race.
Yeah, and listening on Race Chatter, Dylan Patterson not happy at all with Devin Zimmerman. Might be some post-race afterthought memes after this one, so that'd be interesting to look at.
Right, and let's be real. It's towards the end of the race. There's differing strategies and a lot of intensity. A lot of goes into the mind here, because we're in this state of the race. We're probably going to get a lot of restarts here to close it out. You need to make up everything you can on these restarts, and Patterson knows trying to set up the crossover, as you said. I think that's a very valid assessment of that situation. And Devin Zimmerman, he's nearly 3 wide behind Patterson, trying to make up the spots he can.
Yeah, and we've been asking this question. These guys have had some good green flag runs here in the early part of the season. And we kind of asked last night after the Truck Series race, what has changed? And, I'm kind of looking at it, and, we're halfway through the season, and now we're starting the run to the playoffs. And I think some of these guys that are below the cut but close to making it are just saying, hey, I need to get everything I possibly can to make sure that I don't have to worry on whether or not I'm going to miss the playoffs or not. I'm going to know I'm in the playoffs, and I think it's just making these guys run a little bit more aggressively. At the same time, I don't feel like it's needed, because there's still a good amount of races to where you can get in, so you don't want to hurt yourself here by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a lot for the season to play out. A lot of this race to play out. I mean, there's 10 laps to go, but that's still 25 miles. This time I will be going green with 9 laps to go. So say 22 and a half miles in regulation. And we still have Jordan Bain leading this race on old tires in first. He has Drew Ballesteros, who is outside and second on 2 right side tires. Looking at the rest of the running order here, grab bag of strategy. You have Shane Wolf in third on fresh tires. Brandon Domain Shane Wolf on 2 fresh tires. Domain on old tires. And Seth Reed on 4 fresh tires in 5th. We still have a lot of shuffling to go on here.
Yeah, it's just a mixed bag. As we see Michael Larch in 6th, Justin Rideout in 7th, Brett Tucker 8th, Vincent Cortez in 9th, and Danny Dow rounding out your top 10.
Well, what's left of this field after it's been through essentially the war at Pocono, doubled up and getting ready to go once again. We're racing. It's Jordan Bain out in front.
Jordan Bain getting some good restarts to have some older tires than some of these guys. But we'll see what Ballesteros can do here going off into 1.
Up the inside 3 wide, clears himself into 4th. The teammates go at it now. Shane Wolf, he's got it powered by Ballesteros before Reed gets there. They're going to duke it out. And contact behind. Rhett Tucker gets sideways. He holds on to the car. There's Aaron Gerwitz in the 09 trying to work his way down the long pond, and Rhett Tucker nearly went nose first into the inside wall, but a great piece of driving will keep him pointed in the right direction.
And if Rhett Tucker finishes in the top 3, I think that's going to be the move of the race for him, as we see Drew Ballesteros going after Jordan Bain for the lead here.
Ballesteros trying to put himself into position to win in his second ever start in the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series. Jordan Bain putting up an amazing fight down the front straight, side drafting the 54. Ballesteros leads the lap, but Bain back to the lead as they head down to turn 1.
A great battle between these two, and Jordan Bain holding his own on those older tires, but Ballesteros going to throw it down into turn 1, and he'll have him cleared by the time they get to the exit. He'll see if his teammate James Shanewolf can get by Jordan Bain as well.
I heard some contact behind as if there was a wreck, but we're still green, so I'll put that behind me. And Jordan Bain now in second, trying to fend off probably one of the fastest cars today, and James Shanewolf, who's desperately trying to find his way around the 28. Here comes Seth Reed, the defense from Shanewolf. Seth Reed trying to set it on in there. He'll file back in line behind.
Yeah, Shanewolf throwing a block because he knows if Seth Reed gets by him, he's probably not going to be able to get back around Seth. So trying to hold him off, but I think the guy in the catbird seat right now might just be Rhett Tucker, as he's sitting right there behind Seth Reed.
Potentially 3 wide down the front straightaway with 7 laps to go. Seth Reed trying to take this second position away up the inside, trying to clear Shanewolf and Bain. Bain still holding strong on the outside.
Still 3 wide coming off turn 1 here with Bain, Shanewolf, and Reed. And Rhett Tucker just trying to find somewhere to go. But I don't believe 3 wide is going to be a very smart decision going off into 2. They're going to try it.
Nope.
And there they go.
Sideways. Jordan Bain eats a wall because of it.
Yeah, you can barely go 2 wide through there, and 3 wide's just it's not going to work at all. You're not going to be able to hold your line to be able to do that. But Seth Reed up to second, and Rhett Tucker up to third. But Drew Ballesteros is, already got almost a 1.5 lead on these guys.
And Ballesteros has, the 1.3 second advantage over Seth Reed, and he's got 2 fresh tires. He's not completely helpless in this scenario. So he's got 6 laps and a large margin at that, one of the largest margins we've seen all day. Can Ballesteros steal one away in the waning laps at Pocono? Somebody way off.
Shanewolf. Lead up Shanewolf again.
James Shanewolf and caution on the speedway behind. Devin Zimmerman going around in turn number 1. And the bad day gone worse for the driver who was basically in position to take over the point lead after Olenek's early exit. Zimmerman in trouble early as well, or late. Patterson gets into it as well. We'll see what happens on the Beer Street Journal Rec replay.
I don't know how the admins are going to look at that, but it looks like a little bit of payback from Dylan Patterson for that last caution, and I believe at the end of their little talk from the last caution, I believe the admins asked them to settle it after the race, and it looks like Patterson didn't want to wait.
Ooh, we will see how the admins view that incident, and there's 2 completely different scenarios for both the incidents. Devin Zimmerman getting into the back of Patterson, I still believe Zimmerman ran him over clearly, but they're all packed up in a pack and on a restart, and Patterson, quite frankly, was trying to brake in the middle of a pack, and this, they're running all by themselves, running for last, affecting the outcome of the race, and Dylan Patterson has been removed from the server because of it.
Yeah, and it'll be quite a bit packed in the SRN hauler after this race. I believe Zimmerman will also be a part of that. But back up to the front here with these guys, as they were, just hashing it out there with each other while Drew Ballesteros was pulling away, and I don't believe Ballesteros wanted to see that caution.
Yeah, Ballesteros, I think if he went to the end, I don't think Seth Reed would have caught him, to be quite honest. If he did, Seth Reed would have had to work to find his way around Ballesteros as well. I think we're kind of robbed of a great battle at that end. Does anybody pit? There was some faking there. I have 5 laps to go. I wouldn't go track position by any means. and I don't think any of the front runners decide to do so.
No, I think if you're up front, you've done made your bed and have what you got, and it's just time to, use what you've learned over these next use what you've learned tonight for these last few laps. I believe we're going to have a green-white checkered. I don't believe it's going to be officially a green-white checkered, but I believe we're only going to have about 2 laps to go.
Yes. So if we get the normal 1 to green when we usually do, this will be the green-white checkered scenario, but within regulation. So, in favor of our producer Sean Griffith, we have the potential for 4 more restarts. So I don't just say we're on our 9th caution tonight, and we tied a mark set by last night's amazing talent in the truck series, going at it for 45 laps. We're here working lap 57.
Actually, I was just crunching the numbers on the laps, and we would have to go 1 to green this time to stay within regulation, and that's not going to happen. So,
I believe we will get the 1 to green.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, normally when you have pit road open, you have the first time by for lead lap cars and the second time for lap down cars. And the pit road was just open for lead lap last time by, so I don't see us getting the 1 to green this time by.
All right. I think a couple updates ago, I think iRacing recognized that at tracks at this length, there's no need for 4 or 5 lap caution periods, and I believe with the field softly doubling up, I think we're getting the 1 to green here at VAS. I believe lap down vehicles were able to pit last time around and or pit this time, and well, it's up to you to catch up.
I mark it up to Landon Lacey to being wrong again tonight. So, but I keep forgetting at these longer distance racetracks that iRacing has stepped up and knows that these drivers don't want to pace, for this long, around these long racetracks. So, good job to iRacing on shortening these up so that we can get some more green flag racing in. But it will be a green-white checkered, just not overtime.
Yeah, Brett Bodine virtually is radioing to us that he cannot make it to the end on fuel. So this is going to be rough. Again, we saw 9 cautions in the truck race yesterday. He barely made it to the line.
Yeah, and speaking of Brett, he's moving up the point standings in the truck series after all those laps led he's had the past 2 weeks. So I have to see where he ends. He might make the playoffs in the truck series. We'll just have to see.
If you don't get that joke, Brett Bodine is the current pace car driver for NASCAR. And we're just playing off the how many laps led our beloved iRacing pace car driver has had tonight, because it's definitely led more than Seth Reed tonight at that. That being said, it's Drew Ballesteros, Seth Reed, the front row, Rhett Tucker, and Michael Larch, row 2, Vincent Cortez, James Shane Wolf, row 3, Justin Rideout, and Danny Dow, row 4, Brandon Domingue, and Zach Deutscher making up row number 5, the top 10. And I mean, we're going green within regulation, a 2-lap shootout to settle it. Whether it's this time or in 4 times from now, we'll have to see. The iRacing.com safety vehicle for hopefully the last time tonight will make that left-hand turn into the safety pit lane, and we are racing once again in Pocono.
Yeah, and this should be a very interesting restart, but Drew Ballesteros gets a good jump on Seth Reed, and we'll just have to see if he can hold him off for these 2 laps, as Seth Reed has dominated this race for at least the first half.
Side by side for second as Ballesteros walks that margin bigger and bigger through the center of the corner. Seth Reed trying to clear Rhett Tucker as Ballesteros breaks the draft down to Long Pond.
A good idea to break the draft and not let Seth Reed get any gain on you down the straightaway, and just try to run a little bit better than him through the corners. And he did just that time through the tunnel turn, as he extended his lead just a little bit as they head off into turn 3.
2/3 of this track completed clean. Can we make it through 3 one more time under green flag conditions? Through turn 3, it's Drew Ballesteros, and he'll take the white flag here at Pocono. He now has a 2/10 of a second advantage over Seth Freed, the dominant car today. Seth Freed has 4 tires, Ballesteros 2. As they come back down turn 1, does Seth Freed have the time to do it?
Should be a good last lap here, as all of our top 3 is right bumper to bumper. And we'll just have to see if Seth Reed can make a move. He's going to get a little bit of draft help from Rhett Tucker. And Ballesteros comes back up just in time to block that off.
Into the tunnel turn for the final time. It is Drew Ballesteros, the race leader. Seth Reed pulls up right to the back end here as they go down the short shoot for the final time. Defensive from Ballesteros into turn 3. Seth Reed sends it to the outside. Rick Tucker trying to put himself in there as well. They're going to go side by side through turn 3 and off of the final corner. Drew Ballesteros is sideways into the line. It's going to be a 3-wide finish, and Ballesteros wins his first Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series race.
Wow. After all the cautions that we saw tonight, what a race to finish off. 3-wide battle to the start finish with Drew Ballesteros coming out victorious.
What a show. I think we had to endure the 9 cautions to get there. But that might have just been enough to pay for it, because that was a phenomenal finish, 3 wide at the line at Pocono.
Yeah, but just between the top 3, it was 6 100ths, actually 7 100ths of a second between first, second, and third.
Speechless is what I am. I tried to muster up something there, and at the point now, I'm just rambling. We'll get to see Ballesteros, though, celebrate on the French straightaway deservedly. A phenomenal strategy call by the 4 drivers at JW Racing who decided to do so. We thought if there was going to be a JW Racing car in victory lane, it'd be Shane Wolf, but Drew Ballesteros, in the waiting laps at Pocono, decides to take 2 tires with the rest of his team and steals the show in Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
And JW Racing, showed up last week and flexed their muscle and showed the whole Xfinity series that they were here to race, and they come here to Pocono this week and they leave out with their first win here in SRN in the Xfinity series.
Well, we talked about the top 3, but let's see how the top 20 or so finish up tonight's race here at the Tricky 150 presented by Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detailing. Of course, Drew Ballesteros' first career Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series win by 5 100ths of a second over dominant Seth Reed for Highline Racing, and Rhett Tucker comes home in third. The independent there, Michael Larch, will come home in fourth. Half a second back of race winner Ballesteros for JW Racing, and Vincent Cortez will round out the top 5 for Tank.
James Shanewolf finished in 6th, as JW Racing will have 3 of their drivers in the top 6. So going to be, looks like out of all the teams, JW Racing is going to, have another gain this week, getting the most team points leaving out of Pocono. Then you have Daniel Dow for Rev Reloaded, Justin Rideout, another JW Racing driver there in 8th. Zach Deuscher for Rev Reloaded again, so Rev Reloaded having 2 drivers in the top 10, and Aaron Gerwitz for Rev Racing finishes 10th.
Looking at 11th, Adrian Schumacher comes home there for Tank Racing. Nathan Nixon for Rev Reloaded comes home 12th. Tyler Markle for Stryker Motorsports 13th after the amazing big wreck avoidance there at the end. Bo Tiffany 14th for R&D, and Brandon Domingue will come home 15th for Stryker.
Stan Hausman for R&D will finish 16th. Austin Moore for Jonathan Byer Racing will finish 17th, as well as his teammate Nathan De La Rosa will finish 18th. Then we'll have James Kerr, independent driver, finishing 19th, and Devin Zimmerman for Tank Racing finishing 20th.
With all the craziness there at the end, Devin Zimmerman will not take the points lead, but he'll take a huge bite out of Greg Olenik's lead at the top of the standings, which means that the final stretch of races to the playoffs just becomes ever more important and exciting at the top of the points table. And that's how the top 20 came to the line here at the Tricky 150 from Pocono Raceway. We're now here awaiting to hear from our podium finishers for tonight's race. we're trying to see if we can get Rhett Tucker. We may not be able to get to hear from our third place finisher Rhett Tucker, but still a phenomenal run to the line there amongst those three drivers, and we will not have Rhett Tucker, at least at the moment. And looking to see if we will get second place finisher Seth Reed, driver of the number 81. Seth Reed, who led the most laps in today's race. Seth, but I think just out strategized there at the end. What could you have done differently?
Honestly, not too much. I mean, you're the leader, everyone's chasing you, so they're going to do what you're not going to do. And they took 2 tires, and it worked out for them. We had a lot of caution laps, so they really didn't use their left sides too much. And I could have caught him if we had a couple more laps, but I just ran out of time, I guess.
Yeah, Seth, we saw you were fast in practice and also fast in qualifying. And then you came out in the race and, like Emerson said, you led the most laps. You guys, even though you only have 3 guys, y'all seem to run pretty well each week. What for yourself, how much practice do you put in every week?
I put in probably 4 hours, I'd say. And then I'm a nerd a little bit, and I watched last year's race just to see how the race plays out and everything, and try to incorporate that into my strategy. It almost worked at Kansas. But yeah, just try to get my line down, run some quick laps, do a fuel run, see how far I can stretch it and everything.
Well, it looked like whether short run or long run, Seth, you had the dominant car today. What was it about maybe this racetrack that maybe suited you? We've seen you kind of steadily work your way up to finishing results, but today it really looked like it could have been your breakthrough week. But why was that?
I just like Pocono. Most people don't, so they don't put too much time into it. But I love this racetrack. Turn one of the hardest turns on the circuit, so I love trying to tackle that. I messed it up a lot tonight. I messed it up 2 laps to go there and washed off the track, and that I think cost me the race. And on the last lap I messed it up too. But like here in Indianapolis, I have Indianapolis circled in 2 weeks. I expect to do pretty well there too.
Seth, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out or a thank you before we send you back down to your team?
Just shout out to the winner. I don't even know what his name is. Drew. He's a new guy. Shout out to him and Rhett. Rhett followed me all the way back up through the front there, and I had to keep an eye on him when I was trying to make that pass on first, because I knew he was going to try to take advantage of it. So just the front guys for racing clean. We were 3 wide there for about a lap and kept it off each other and everything. So just good racing up front in the front 10. I don't know what was going on back there in the back. I think we had 10 cautions tonight.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Seth, thank you for congratulations tonight on your second place finish, and we'll send you back down to your team so you can what am I trying to celebrate with him?
Celebrate a second.
I couldn't think.
All right, guys, have a good night.
You too, bud.
That was our second place finisher, driver of the number 81, Seth Reed. And now we are going to try to get our race winner on up here to try to hear from him. And we do have indeed our first time Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series race winner, Drew Ballesteros. And a strategy to take 2 tires at the end by you and your JW Racing teammates paid off. How about it?
Yeah, that was a good finish. Well, first of all, good to meet you guys. Great racing with this league. These guys, for the most part, kept it pretty clean up in the front. Raced hard. I love racing with Seth Reed and all those guys and my teammates. But yeah, that last stop, I figured taking 2 would be better than wasting time and getting further back in the pack. So thankfully it paid off. I don't think it would have lasted 1 more lap, but it lasted just enough for me to get the win.
Yeah, Drew, we saw you and your JW Racing teammates, make your debut last week at Richmond, and you guys had a great outing last week as well, and another great outing tonight. As I looking at the results, I believe are going to have the most team points out of any other team tonight. So you guys are making that push for the 8th place in team points, so y'all can make the playoff bracket. Do you guys plan on keeping that up, and how do y'all go forward from here?
Yeah, I think it's a unique approach to it. We know that we're behind on a few races, so our goal is to come in here, race clean, be efficient, make good calls, work together for the most part. Tonight's, we worked great as a team, communicating and making sure we're on the same page. And I think if we keep doing that, achieving 8th place shouldn't be a problem, and we'll lock ourselves in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and a great run at that, as mentioned previously by Landon, the last 2 weeks. And again, with that, being 5 races left, I know the push maybe for 15th in the points in the driver's standings may be a little out there, but if you can, how do you set up these final 5 races so to get yourself into that playoff run?
Take chances. I mean, we're behind the 8 ball of missing the first seven or so races. I've missed 7 races. This is 8th of the season. Take chances, have fun, go out there and race clean, and have one goal in mind, and that's trying to win. And I think if we do that, I think that we can make a run for it. It's definitely a steep climb, but we know the assignment won't get it done.
All right, Drew, before we send you back down to your team, is there anybody out there that you want to give a shout out or a thank you to?
Yeah, thank you to the league owners, Jason, Tripp, and Sean. Thanks to SRN for allowing us to come in here. Sparkle and Shine, Sandwich Man Racing, Tropical Smoothie. And then our team sponsor is also Track Racer. Be sure to use discount code JW Racing for anything you buy on their website. This race was won on a Track Racer rig, so that's exciting. A good win for them. Thunder Valley Tavern, and most of all, JW Racing for putting us out here and supporting us and allow us to go out here and have fun.
Race winning equipment there at Track Racer. Make sure you check them out. Once again, Drew Ballesteros, a race winner in the Speed Racing Network Virtual Xfinity Series. Congratulations, Drew. Best luck to you the rest of the season. Hopefully, we're talking to you more.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Right on. Of course, driver of number 54, Drew Ballesteros, put on a phenomenal outing there in the final 15 laps or so to bring it home as the race winner. And Lacey, next week, we're at the track that's tagged as Too Tough to Tame, the Darlington Raceway, next Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. How you feeling about that, Darlington?
I think it's going to be a pretty cool week for SRN. You see the throwback 140 as a lot of the drivers are, some of them have already come out with their throwback paint schemes for next week, and can't wait to see what some of the other drivers come up with. But Darlington, one of those racetracks that, another driver's racetrack, just like Pocono, but it's called the Lady in Black for a reason. Darlington Stripes. It's just a challenging racetrack, as you have turn 1 and 2 that's completely different than turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, you and I still have to take the track this week. It's Sunday night, Pocono Raceway for the tricky 185. I'll see you out there. You'll probably be lapping me at that point. But Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Best of luck to you, driver.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this racetrack. I know I feel like I say this a lot, but Pocono is in my top 3 racetracks, for sure. Might even be my second favorite racetrack, only to Indianapolis. And just for that reason, you have the tunnel turn, which is like Indianapolis. But for some reason, I like turn 1 and turn 3 as well. Just the different grooves that you can use to gain speed. And so I'm really looking forward to Pocono on Sunday. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Pocono as well. I feel like for anyone, if you're a driver maybe who's usually fast, you're getting a lot of bad luck. And I don't know if I'd say that about myself, but I know I've had a lot of rough luck at that. I think driver racetracks like Pocono, like Darlington, what was Nashville a couple of weeks ago, is a great stretch to schedule to kind of right your wrongs and put your ship in the right direction if you're going to make a playoff push or a championship push at that. And I just absolutely can't wait for Sunday night.
Yeah, same here. I'm really looking forward to it.
And well, that's going to do it for tonight's action here from the virtual Pocono Raceway. We thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And that being said, we hope to see you next Sunday night, or this Sunday night, I'm sorry, for the Tricky 185, or next Thursday night for the Throwback 140 from here at the Speed Racing Network. And with that being said, y'all have a blessed night. Y'all stay cool. Y'all stay safe. And go faster.